That the motion be agreed to. Andrew Little.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I don't know whether that member deserves the award for the greatest level of cynicism or the greatest level of irony. But whatever he said, it was not about a plan that's actually fixing any problem that the rest of the country can see happening today. Now, he talked about completing the building program. I'm glad he completed his speech, because it's time to get on to something that actually talks about the issue. The reality is this. To the extent that the National Party has a housing policy, and I hesitate to call it a plan because there quite evidently isn't one, it is a comprehensive joke. They can't bring themselves to admit that there is a crisis, something that everybody else knows. They've been in absolute denial about it. Cannot bring themselves to say that there is one, except for Paula Bennett, to her credit, who admitted that there was a crisis and the next day said that there wasn't. It was something else. Then there was Bill English, who said that we have some pressures, not a housing crisis, some housing pressures. And the Prime Minister, who says we have a housing challenge, a bit like The Block or, you know, The Bachelor or something. They've got a challenge that's trying to fix for reality TV. The reality is, Mr Speaker, when there are 42,000 homeless New Zealanders, there is a crisis. When 4,000 of them don't even have a roof over their head, there is a crisis. When the rest of them are jammed into overcrowded housing, there is a crisis. When house prices in Auckland double over the course of this government, more than double, there is a crisis. When house prices in Auckland in a single year increase by 25%, there is a crisis. And when house prices in the rest of the country increase 5 or 6 times the value of inflation, there is a crisis. When somebody in Auckland earning $120,000 a year, who has saved and saved and saved, cannot afford a deposit on a reasonable house, there is a crisis. And when a 2-bedroom prefab in a section in Papakura with no embellishments at all goes on the market for $549,000, there is a crisis. There is a crisis, Mr Speaker. And what are the government's solutions? Oh, let's go through them. Shall I count the ways? Special housing areas. Remember, 39,000 homes, which is more or less the current shortage in housing in Auckland. Sounds pretty good. What a fantastic idea. What have we had in the 3 years since? 1,000 homes. 1,000 homes built, if we're lucky. That's counting the ones that are still under construction, because that's what they count. Now, Dr. Smith's accused us of being in the paddock. I wish he would find a paddock that they could build some houses in. Because the next was his Crown land policy. Remember the Crown land plan? The Crown land plan. 500 hectares of Crown land. Paddocks galore he could stand in and build houses. And how many hectares did he find? 13. 13 hectares out of 500. Then Paula Bennett promised more funding for emergency houses, because, you know, when you've got so many people can't get into their own home, so many people living in cars and garages, she promised more money for emergency housing. And then what happened? We then discovered she's actually just funding what the emergency housing providers are already doing. Nothing new, not a single new bed, not a single new roof over anybody's head. Then we had, because they were getting really serious, really concerned about the homelessness crisis, we'll set up the flying squads. Hooray! The flying squads, they'll fly around and they'll find people and put them in houses. And they didn't exist. 2 weeks, they went to the mission in Auckland, downtown mission in Auckland. 2 weeks they went there and didn't help a soul. That's the government's comprehensive housing plan. Desperate, panicked, no answer to anything, give the appearance of doing something, but do nothing. Well, watch out for Sunday, Mr Speaker. Watch out for Sunday and see what a real comprehensive plan looks like.
The Honourable Paula Bennett.